Hi everyone, Gabe here from Westcoast SCI Physiotherapy. So today we'll be talking about the core, and of course, as you know, there's a lot of different information about the core these days. So really the core is made up of three major muscle groups. We have the rectus abdominis, that's the six-pack that helps you bend forward, do the sit-up. We have the obliques, and there's two layers of obliques, internal, external. They help you rotate, bend to the side. So they do that twisting motion. So the transverse abdominis, it wraps around your belly, forming almost a corset, so like a cylinder shape around your body, especially around the abdominal region, to help give you that solid kind of bracing effect. And today that's kind of the muscle we're going to be looking at. Of course, the other muscles, the obliques and the rectus, are obviously very important muscles as well, but we'll be touching on that on another video. So here's 4 exercises for that transverse abdominis. Hope you enjoy. So we're doing pelvic tilt here. This is more just to find your neutral spine. When we're doing core exercise, we always want to make sure that you're keeping your spine nice and neutral, so you're not kind of swaying one way to the extreme or the other. It's also a good exercise just to do for spinal or pelvic mobility. So basically, as you see, Taha here is rocking his pelvic forward and then doing the opposite, rocking it backwards. I kind of like to say when you're doing one, you're kind of sticking your belly forward, and when you're doing the other, you're kind of tucking your tail. And typically, like I said, we're trying to avoid painful positions. So you're finding when you're doing this, one way hurts more than the other, then we want to make sure that we're not forcing into those painful movements. Okay, let's just try to find a neutral pelvis here. So basically what I do is, again, you find the one extreme bend, so you can either tuck your tail there, let's tuck your tail. So you find how far that goes, and then you tuck it, you kind of stick your belly up and tilt it the opposite way, and you see the opposite way of that. So basically we're just trying to find the between of those two. So just try to find neutral in between. So when you're doing that, there should be a little bit of a gap. You're not forcefully pushing your back into the ground, but there should be a little bit of a space there. But you have a nice contact point on the buttocks and a nice contact point on the mid-back. Once we found that neutral pelvis position, what we're going to try to do is learn how to contract that transversus abdominis. This is actually quite a difficult muscle to innervate on its own. Really the only true way of knowing that you're actually contracting the TA is with an ultrasound, like the diagnostic ultrasound that you use when you're looking at pregnant women. But today, like I said, in the gym, we're going to keep it pretty simple. So again, like I said, this muscle is at the innermost base of the core. So it's not one of the muscles that you see. So like I said, that beautiful six-pack here that Taha's got, you want to actually look below that. So what we're going to do is a couple little things. So usually what I do is try to find the bones in the pelvis. So you find that front of your pelvis. Maybe come in about an inch or so. So you're kind of a couple inches from that belly button and a couple inches from that pelvic bone. So what I do is try to give that little bit of a squeeze here, and I'm going to tell Taha, like when I push you down, I want you to kind of squeeze against me or push out against my thumbs there, so you can feel some tension happening around where my thumbs are. Ideally what actually happens is, when I'm doing this with one of our patients, I'll have him take off his shirt. I'm not going to get to do that, so I'll use ladies out there. Unfortunately, won't get to see that. But I'm going to get the person to actually contract there, and I'm going to let my fingers go, and I want to see if there's any movement of the belly after I let go. You typically don't want to see a lot of movement afterwards. So what I'm going to do again, I'm going to push down with my thumbs, get him to contract or kind of push out against my fingers, and as I let go my thumbs, I don't want to see much movement. Especially actually, I look at the belly button, so I see, is that belly button moving? And then I'll do it without my thumbs. I'll get him to contract down, have a look at what his belly button's doing. Do I see a lot of movement? Do I not? Really, I'm trying to look for minimal movement of that belly button, really. And also when you're doing that, there's a couple cheating things that some people might try to do. So what some people will do is they'll start tilting that pelvis, so you'll start seeing a lot of kind of movements happening in the pelvis when they're contracting. And again, we don't really want to see that. We want to keep that nice neutral spine or that neutral pelvis position. So again, it's a tricky exercise to try. It does take quite a lot of practice to innervate that muscle without getting a lot of action from the rectus abdominis, that six-pack, and or the obliques. So like I said, what we can do at home is just practice by pushing your fingers in that area close to the pelvic bones, feeding kind of some resistance or pressure against your fingers, and then again trying to hold that while you're breathing normally. Another big cheat is people will hold their breath, so you're going to want to make sure that the person is breathing in and out as they're contracting that muscle. And typically you try to take 2 or 3 breaths and then relax and then repeat the process a couple times. So now that we understand how to activate your transverse abdominis or TA muscle, what we'll do is try to challenge that. So again, we're finding neutral pelvis. Let's engage that muscle. So I'm just gonna push in that pelvis to feel a little bit of resistance against my finger. And nice and easy, what we'll try to do is while you're engaging, you're gonna lift one leg up, kind of a single leg march, and then back down. And then still engaging, we're gonna lift up and then slowly back down. So again, what we're looking for is pelvis or pelvic mobility. So are you moving your pelvic much? Hopefully everything's staying relatively still, and the only thing really moving here is your leg coming up and down. And again, this is actually easier said than done. You'll want to try to really pay attention to what's happening here. So ideally you have minimal shifting side to side, and you're having very minimal shifting forward and back. So again, you still want to keep that little bit of space in that low back, and having minimal shifting of what's happening in the pelvis, either side to side or front and back. If you're finding you want to add a little bit more increased difficulty, I'll start throwing some arm action in there. So to Alex, get you to throw arms. Okay, we can do 2 legs too. So the way to make this more difficult is to start adding arms and leg action at the same time. So typically we do what we call contralateral, so kind of opposite side, so opposite arm, opposite leg. So again, what we're trying to keep an eye on is that engaged here? Am I feeling some activity, some firmness happening underneath my thumbs? And are we able to keep that neutral spine, that neutral pelvis happening? So is there a nice little space between the back and the mat? And then what's happening in the pelvis? Is it rocking back and forth? Is it staying still? And we do want that to be staying relatively still. I mean, with the arms, what I also look for is just kind of, are we getting a lot of arching of that upper or mid back? And you want to make sure that the rib cage is kind of staying down and staying engaged. So there are our 4 exercises for the transverse abdominis. I hope you enjoyed that. Please feel free to comment or ask questions below. Don't forget to follow us on YouTube, like our channel, and do remember these are very general exercises, just tip of the iceberg stuff. So don't forget to ask a healthcare professional around you or contact us here at Westcoast SCI. See you next time.